In the absolute chaos of the world wars, there are these stories that, well, they just defy belief. We're talking about moments where the rules of battle just completely fall apart, and a single soldier, through this incredible mix of pure luck and sheer will, becomes something else entirely, an unstoppable force of nature. I mean, seriously, how can one soldier defeat an entire enemy force? It's the kind of question that sounds like it's pulled straight from a Hollywood blockbuster, right? But believe it or not, these stories are absolutely real. So how on earth does that even happen? How does one person manage to turn the tide against literally hundreds of enemies? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. Okay, get this. During the last brutal push of World War I, a single American soldier captured 132 German troops. Let that sink in. One guy, 132 prisoners of war. And if you think that's wild, fast forward to World War II. A single Canadian soldier terrified an entire enemy garrison, we're talking nearly 1,000 men, into abandoning an entire city. He didn't even capture them. No, he made them run. He literally scared them into running for their lives. So who were these guys? You might be picturing some kind of super soldiers, bred for war from day one. But the men behind these unbelievable feats, they were the exact opposite of what you'd expect. Their stories don't start with some grand ambition, but with a whole lot of reluctance and just an incredible amount of grit. I mean, the contrast between them is it's wild. On one side, you've got Alvin York. He's a farmer from the mountains of Tennessee, a deeply religious man who was actually a conscientious objector. His faith told him that killing was a sin. Then on the other side, you've got Leo Major. This guy was a French-Canadian sniper so dedicated to the fight that after a grenade took out his left eye, you know what he did? He just slapped on an eye patch and got right back to it. And you can really feel York's internal struggle in his own words. For him, the decision to even go to war was this massive crisis of faith. I mean, he literally spent hours with his commanding officers, poring over the Bible, trying to figure out how he could possibly reconcile his duty as a soldier with his beliefs. He eventually came to believe that God would see his heart and guide him. And boy, was that belief about to be put to the ultimate test. And that quote right there, that tells you everything you need to know about Leo Major's mindset. When the doctors told him, "Sorry, son, your war is over," he just flat out refused. That absolute, stubborn, almost insane determination, that was his trademark. He wasn't just gonna fight, oh no. He was gonna be the best, no matter what. Okay, and here's the kicker. The really crucial thing to understand. Neither of these guys planned what they did. Not even a little bit. These legendary, history-making moments weren't part of some brilliant strategy. Nope. They were sparked by pure, dumb, unforeseen accidents that threw them headfirst into totally impossible situations. So for Alvin York, it all started with a wrong turn. Seriously. His patrol, just 17 guys, was supposed to be flanking a bunch of German machine guns. But they got lost. Maybe it was the fog, maybe a bad map, who knows. The point is, they didn't end up on the German flank. They ended up smack dab in the middle of their rear, completely behind their entire front line. A totally fatal error that, by sheer accident, set up the perfect ambush. And for Leo Major, the accident was a gut-wrenching tragedy. He and his best friend Willie were on a simple recon mission. They were just supposed to scout out the Dutch city of Zwolle. But then, in an instant, Willie was killed by German fire. And in that moment, the mission was over. Something inside Leo Major just snapped. It became personal. It became a one-man war fueled by pure, cold rage. So you have these two men, both thrown into absolute chaos. But how they dealt with it, that's what's so incredible. It reveals two completely different, but equally brilliant ways of thinking under pressure. One man reacted with the cold, calculated precision of a surgeon. The other, he attacked with pure psychological terror. So let's break this down. It's really a tale of two different approaches. York was on the defense, he was under fire, and he had to react, right? So he fell back on his lifetime of hunting skills to just surgically pick apart the threat. Major, though, he went on the attack. He was proactive, he used noise, fear, and a whole lot of bluffing to create the illusion that he was an entire army. All right, so when those German machine guns just ripped into them, 9 of York's buddies went down, including all of his superior officers. All of a sudden, Corporal York is in charge, and he just calmly starts picking off the German gunners, one by one. Then, 5 Germans charge him with bayonets. You think that's it, right? But York doesn't even flinch. He pulls out his pistol and uses this old turkey hunting trick. He shoots the last guy in the line first, then the next, and so on, all the way to the front. Drops every single one of them. The German commander saw this one guy just calmly dismantling his entire position, and he just gave up, right there on the spot. Major's strategy, on the other hand, was just pure uncut audacity. He was going to avenge Willie. So all night long, he's just running through the streets of Zwolle, firing his machine gun, throwing grenades, basically making enough noise for an entire battalion. At one point, he captures a German officer, tells him this massive Canadian artillery strike is coming at dawn, a total bluff, and then lets the guy go to spread the word. And get this, all night he'd capture small groups of 8 or 10 Germans, march them out of town to his Allied lines, and then just run right back in to keep the chaos going. As a final touch, he even set the Gestapo headquarters on fire. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. These stories sound too good to be true, right? Like something cooked up after the war. But here's the thing, they were rigorously verified. We're not talking about myths born in the fog of war here. These were confirmed, documented, real-deal actions that cemented these two men as absolute, undisputed legends. In fact, the U.S. Army was so skeptical of York's story that they launched a full-blown investigation. They even took him back to the battlefield and made him walk them through it step by step, and he proved it. Meanwhile, Major's insane heroism in Zwolle earned him the Distinguished Conduct Medal. But then, and this is just mind-blowing, he went on to earn a second one in the Korean War. He's the only Canadian in history to get that medal in 2 different wars. And, York's actions weren't just about the huge number of prisoners. That's the headline. But the real impact was strategic. By taking out those 35 machine guns, he completely shattered the German defensive line. That allowed his entire regiment to move forward and capture a critical railroad. He single-handedly saved what must have been countless American lives that day. Leo Major's legacy is just as powerful, just as lasting. The city he liberated, basically through sheer willpower and righteous anger, they never ever forgot him. To this day, the people of Zwolle see him as their sole liberator. They made him an honorary citizen, named a street after him, and every single year they hold a ceremony to remember the one-eyed sniper, the one-man army who gave them back their freedom. So when you look at the stories of Alvin York and Leo Major, it really forces you to ask a pretty fundamental question about war, doesn't it? In those critical moments when all the plans have gone out the window and it's just pure chaos, what actually decides who wins? Is it the weapon a soldier is holding, or is it the unbreakable will inside their heart?